Hello, my name is Linda Adams, and I am going to be working with you on the nutrition piece of the Health Team Lab. And Delvin and I put together a training video that you will see shortly that models a little bit about what our session might look like from the nutrition perspective when you're talking with someone. I used the food frequency form, which we're calling the nutrition questionnaire. And the way that we've decided to have it work is that the student asks the questions. And so I am asking the questions here. I noticed when I looked at the video, there was one question that I did not ask. And that was, I believe it's on there. Have you ever been prescribed a medically necessary diet? So when you ask that question, it's only so that we know if there's any sort of therapeutic something going on, that we don't get involved with that. I hope that makes sense. And we can talk about that a little bit more if you take part in any training with me. So in this video, you'll see Delvin being the client or the participant, and I'm the nutrition coach, and I'm using the guide to ask the questions, and then I'm trying to understand what part of any of that he wants to change, right? We try not to give, we don't judge, no judging. We try not to even give too much information until we see something that they might be interested in. You'll notice that I did to try and help him determine what it was he wanted to focus on. I asked him what healthy eating would look like to him. And he was pretty vague, although I think he knew what healthy eating looked like. So I did volunteer to share and asked him if it was okay to share the Balanced Plate Guide. And then I used that to kind of spring off. Now, if he had wanted me to, if I had said, what does healthy eating look like to you? And he says, I don't know, we just asked all those questions. What do you think? Well, at that time, then you could actually go over that document and say, well, it looks here like you eat leafy greens once a week. And the new recommendation is try and do it every day if you can. It's one of the major components of the MIND diet, which has recently been added to the dietary guidelines as a way to prevent, and everybody's looking for a way to try and keep dementia from happening. So that, and then the fruit questions, how often do you eat fruit? You could use that as, okay, you eat it once a day. And the My Plate guideline is to have at least half of your plate full of fruits or vegetables. What do you think about that? So you could go through each of those. If they asked for that, I did not do that in this video as we didn't get there. So I hope you enjoy it, get something out of it. I'm interested in your feedback and I'm available to talk about it. So if you want to do that, let me know. Welcome, Delvin. Come on back and let's take a look at the rest of the information that we need here today. So have a seat.
Thank you.
How's it been going so far?
Pretty good.
Yeah? All right. You ready to talk a little bit about nutrition and what that looks like for you?
Yeah, I am. I'd love to get your advice on my nutrition and diet.
Awesome. Just going to ask you some questions. It's going to give me an idea of what your overall intake looks like. And then we can talk about any specifics that you're interested in. Does that sound good?
Yeah, it sounds great.
How many times a day do you typically eat?
Probably about 4.
Okay. So 4 times during a day, you might eat or drink something.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a series of questions to try and understand how many of these particular types of foods that you eat, how often. Okay. So you can just tell me if you eat them every meal, if you eat them once a day, 2 to 4 times a day, once a week, 1 to 3 times a month, or you might rarely eat them. and I can
Okay.
repeat those for you. We're going to
Okay.
start with how often you consume fruit. This could be canned fruit, fresh fruit, dried, anything but juice. This does not include juice.
Okay.
So
What counts
every
as
meal,
fruits? Are
rarely.
tomatoes and cucumbers anything with a seed of fruit, or
Yeah, you can
Okay.
go with that.
okay, not just like raspberries and blueberries and stuff.
Yeah, not just like the sweet ones.
All right. Pretty regularly then I eat like a lot of peppers and cucumbers and tomatoes
Okay.
and stuff. Not so much of the blueberries and raspberries.
How about some
Say.
stone fruit?
Uh, that would probably be like once a week.
Okay.
And then the cucumbers, tomato stuff would be probably like 4 times a day.
Okay. Great. So that's almost every meal. That's actually more than every meal. Do you do any juice at all, either vegetable juice or fruit juice? And this would be 100% juice.
No, pretty rarely. Like I'll make my son smoothies sometimes to try and
Yeah.
get him to eat vegetables and then
Uh-huh.
consume whatever he doesn't. So
Uh-huh.
there might be some juice in there, but not typically.
Great. How often would you say that you include dark green leafy vegetables? It's the same scale. It could be every meal, once a day, a couple times a week.
Does like iceberg lettuce count, or does it have
We're going to
be-
count iceberg lettuce. The greener, the better.
Okay. Then once a day, I'd say.
Once a day. Okay. How often would you say you consume red or orange fruits or vegetables?
Every day.
Every day? And how about beans or peas? So that could be green peas, but also split peas. And we're referring specifically to dry soak beans, like pinto beans, garbanzo beans, those kinds of things.
A little bit more rarely, probably once a week.
Okay. How about savory snack foods?
What's a savory snack?
Crackers, chips.
Oh yeah, lots
popcorn.
of that. Lots of that.
Okay.
Probably
So-
daily.
Daily. Okay. How about the sweet snacky foods? And that would be more like cookies or caramel corn or something like that. Candy.
Rarely.
Rarely.
I like the salt.
Okay. What about things like ice cream?
Ice cream gets in there pretty regularly.
So maybe a couple times a week.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. How often would you say, Davin, that you consume refined grains?
Generally, we try and buy whole wheat and avoid like more refined products. I'd say that's pretty rare for us to use.
Okay.
refined grains.
So refined grains would be 2 to 4 times a week.
Probably less than that. Probably.
Less than that. Okay,
I
maybe
would say,
even just once
rarely.
a week. Okay. What would be an example of a refined grain that you would eat?
Yeah, generally we don't. Like we try to buy whole grain stuff. I guess like crackers would probably be where we get the refined grains from.
Okay. Okay. What about things like white pasta or regular bagels?
Again, we try to buy whole grain pasta. I do eat bagels pretty regularly. Like I'll probably eat half a bagel for breakfast some days. So if that counts, then yeah,
Okay.
maybe up our estimate to 2 or 3 times a week.
What about rice? Does your family consume rice on a regular basis?
Not a ton, maybe once a week, twice a week.
Okay. And is that regular, typical white rice or?
Yeah, a variety, like
A variety.
all different kinds of rice.
So it might be brown rice or wild
Yeah.
rice.
Could be.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. How about whole grains? So if you're only doing rarely refined grains, you're probably doing whole grains quite a bit. What are some examples of the whole grains that you consume?
Lots of whole grain bread, lots of sandwiches being made. So probably twice a day whole grains.
Okay, nice. How about seafood? Seafood, fish, shellfish?
Yeah, we make an effort to eat fish, but I haven't really been doing it a lot lately because the kids don't eat it. So I normally we'd be trying to do it like 2-3 times a week, but lately I would say once every couple weeks.
Okay. How often do you consume meat, poultry, or eggs?
Pretty much every day.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll usually have at least one meat course or egg course a day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nuts, seeds, soy products.
Lots of nuts, lots of seeds. We'll drink some soy milk occasionally. We have like a thing of it in the fridge usually, but we go through it pretty slowly.
So maybe once a day for the nuts and seeds?
Nuts and seeds, yeah, at least once a day. And
Okay.
then soy more rarely than that.
So would it be accurate to say you drink soy milk instead of dairy milk?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
We'll go through like four things of normal milk and one thing of soy milk in the same time frame.
Ah, okay. So how many 8-ounce cups of dairy do you think that you take per day or per week or per month?
8
Maybe
ounce cups of
yogurt,
dairy per
cottage
day.
cheese, milk.
Probably 1.5, 2 per day.
Okay. And how about cheese? Did you count cheese in that?
Oh,
And
yeah,
yogurt?
cheese. Yeah, let's round it up to 2 then, if we're including
Okay.
cheese.
All right. How about sweetened beverages? Do you find yourself
Not
taking those
really.
often?
No, like I'll drink chocolate milk, which I guess is sweetened
Mhm.
milk.
Mhm.
After I work out, usually once a day.
Okay.
But that's it. Sorry.
That's
My
okay.
son is homesick from school today. So
Aw,
he's watching TV while we're meeting.
that's
You wanna watch
okay.
this one
He can
again?
come sit with you if you want.
I don't think we're as entertaining as Nathan.
Okay, probably not.
It is, bud. There you go.
How often do you drink water?
I have this thing, which is like 8 cups, which I try and go
Nice.
through in a day.
All right.
But my kids are always stealing it, so I don't know how much I actually get of it.
Well, that's an admirable goal. 8 cups of water a day. What about alcoholic beverages?
I've been stressed during COVID, Linda, and I've been using alcohol a little bit to cope with it.
Yeah.
So I'm drinking more than I want for sure.
I think that's pretty common.
And I've been going through like phases where I'm like, no, I'm not going to drink anymore at all. And I just stop drinking for like a couple months. But then I get stressed again and I drink.
So when you say you drink, what does that look like?
Like I'll probably have like 2 glasses a night right now.
Okay.
Average.
Okay. So that would be along the lines of 10 to 14 per week.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other information that you could provide us about your eating habits or your philosophy around food or any of your goals? Do you have any goals?
No, like, so it's been COVID the last 2 years and we've been working from home. We haven't had full-time childcare. So like, I love to cook, but I just haven't had time to do it, right? Time is a huge commodity right now. And like getting in the kitchen and making a mess and then having to clean up is just stressful. So it's not enjoyable right now. So we're not really eating the way that I think we normally would want to. We're ordering in a lot more. We're eating a lot faster than we typically would. So I'm probably not super satisfied with the way that we're eating right now.
So it's not the way that you envision yourselves doing it if you could do it the way you wanted to.
Yeah, for sure. Like I think that I envision like our family like being in the kitchen and making dinner and taking the time to do that and enjoy that. Whereas right now it's more perfunctory. It's just like we gotta get this done. We gotta get food on the table. We gotta get kids in bed. We gotta get back to work. So I think that what we're eating and how we're eating is probably not what I would prefer.
And what particular concerns do you have about it?
Well, I just don't like that we're ordering in as much as we are. I would prefer to cook. We cook like a very kind of Mediterranean style typically when we cook, which I think results in us eating a lot more of the things we're supposed to be and avoiding more of the things that we're not supposed to be. Like you were talking about fish, we don't really eat that right now. Beans and legumes we're not really eating right now. So just making sure like we're eating big salads and eating nice rounded meals with a little bit of everything, rather than whatever we can order in fast.
Okay. So you would rather spend more time in the kitchen cooking the foods that you, that they say we need more of.
Yeah.
And instead of ordering in and just getting the quick food on the table.
And I just feel better when I'm eating those foods.
So eating healthy foods causes you to feel better.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that information with me. Can you tell me what your ideal eating pattern would look like if you had all the time in the world and, you know, had access to all those foods? Well, what does your body need?
So normally I work out in the morning, and then I have like a glass of chocolate milk after I work out. And then a couple hours later, I'll eat a small breakfast, which is usually like half a bagel made with like cream cheese or smoked salmon or something. Or like some oatmeal. And then kind of mid-afternoon, I'll have a small lunch. And then again, I'd like to have like a bigger family dinner where we're cooking it ourselves and having big salads and eating more of that Mediterranean style. And then avoiding that late night snacking where I'm drinking booze and eating chips.
So the late night snacking just contributes more of those almost comfort foods.
Yeah, for sure. It's 100% comfort food right now.
Okay. So are you familiar with choosemyplate.gov?
No.
That is the government's website for the dietary guidelines for Americans. And I'll share that website with you. It has a lot of information if you're interested. I don't use that graphic though, because it has dairy sitting out on its own. And dairy is absolutely not something that is critical for somebody to include in a healthy diet. So I have my own. Would you mind if I shared it with you?
Yeah, please.
I'm going to share my screen and we'll take a look at this. And you're talking about nice, healthy, balanced meals. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a plate here, which is an easy graphic way of looking at what science thinks we need. The foods are grouped by nutrients. So we have our fruits and vegetables, and then we have on half of our plate. On the other side, we have the protein and the grains. And so by getting this type of balance, then the body gets all those vitamins and minerals and phytonutrients from the fruits and vegetables, and it gets a good source of protein, and it gets the whole grain and fiber. And finally, sitting in the middle is the fat. Sometimes it's in the middle, sometimes it's part of the meat or part of the grain or part of the avocado, right? So sometimes we put it on and sometimes it's in those foods that we consume. So if you think about this, what do you think is the biggest weakness in your eating pattern as compared to this?
Probably too much of those protein-rich foods, meats, particularly red meats, and probably too few vegetables right now.
Okay, so the meats are pushing a little bit of the vegetables off the plate.
Yeah, for sure.
Which then decreases your intake of these vitamins, minerals, and phytonutrients.
Yeah.
Is that something that you're interested in changing?
Yeah, definitely.
How do you imagine you could change that?
So when I have time to cook, I'll usually make like a protein dish and then like several vegetable side dishes and then one grain side dish. And then I'll actually like set my plate and make sure that it looks kind of like my plate.
Right.
Which also helps me with portion control, because I'll just be like, here's my one plate that I'm going to eat.
Right.
Versus when right now we're just ordering and then so much like, it's just like, here's a giant hamburger and some fries. And then like I fill up on that and I don't eat anything else. Right.
Mm-hmm. So when you have time, it sounds like you're familiar with how to do it, and it works. What happens when you don't have time?
Then it doesn't work.
So then that's when you order in.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Or just
So-
cook something so fast that doesn't
Cook
have
something
like,
so fast.
I think like having a number of vegetable side dishes really helps, right? So like if I have like some broccoli and some salad and some beans or whatever,
Okay.
then like,
So if vegetables were easier to make and you had access to them freely, it might be easier for you to eat more of those.
yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
For sure.
So is there something that you could do around your household, with your family that would make that happen?
Yeah, I guess like preparing larger meals in advance on the weekend maybe
Mm.
could
Mhm.
help. Yeah, I don't know. Do you
Mhm.
have any ideas for me?
Mhm. Well, you've got a really busy lifestyle. You've got a lot going on. It sounds like you're really interested in changing maybe your food patterns because it makes you feel better when you get the food that you want to eat. And so there's a lot of different things you can try for that. So you mentioned cooking a lot of different meals on the weekend. Is that something that is like doable for you, or do you think about that and say, yeah, right?
It's a reach goal for sure. It's something that I would like to start doing,
Uh-huh.
but working that in
Mm-hmm.
may be difficult. The other thing I think that I struggle with is, I mean, we have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and getting them to eat good food
Mhm.
is difficult, right? So we end up
Yeah.
making a meal for ourselves and a meal for them, which then is doubling our time.
Mhm.
Whereas if we could just make like a meal for the family, then we could make sure that
Right.
we're all getting the right things in our diet.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds a little bit overwhelming to cook the food on the weekend. Can you think of something that would be like a little less stressful that might help set you up for the week of having enough
Yeah.
vegetables in the house?
I've been brainstorming with my wife about like just like staple meals that we can have in the rotation. Like
Mm-hmm.
what are like 5 meals that we can just be like, let's not have to think about what we're making for dinner tonight. Let's just have something in our back pocket that we know is like a good meal that gets us all the different parts of the My Plate that you showed me that the kids will eat, and like just rotate through those. So every week we're gonna make like a big pot of red sauce pasta. Every week we're gonna make like whatever. So I
So you've
think
been talking about that. How's it going?
we've talked about it.
Huh?
So
what's your first step in implementing something like that? What would it look like? Would it literally be in your back pocket? Where would these backup meals be?
I think just like on the weekend shopping for it, making sure that we have the ingredients for those meals so that it's not like we get home with the kids at 5:30 and have to think about, let's go shop for this meal and then bring it home and then cook. It's just like there, it's ready to go. We can just do it. So I think just ensuring that we have the ingredients for it and that like, oh, we need to have a quick meal tonight. Let's do it. And we just pull out those ingredients and go would be helpful.
So I think I hear you saying that if you were to take time on a day of the week, it could be the weekend, sketch out 3 or 4 meals that you feel like it would be easy to make, and then sketch out the ingredients list and survey the kitchen and see what you have and what you need, and then go to the store and get those ingredients and then have them in the house. Take that list to the refrigerator. That might significantly help during the dinner hour when you get the kids, you come home, everybody's hungry, everybody's tired. What are we going to have for dinner? Go to the refrigerator, look at that list. There it is right there. All the ingredients in their house. You do this, you do that. Let's get this done and move on.
Yeah, that definitely sounds more doable than like all this meal prep on the weekends, which sounds a little harder.
Yeah. Yeah. So what you're talking about is meal planning. So you're planning what you're going to have and you're preparing yourself with those ingredients. You're not doing any prep until it comes right up to the time to make the meal.
Yeah.
So from what you're telling me, it sounds like that might work better. Is that something that you're interested in trying out?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would be your first step to try that out with your family?
I think we just need to think of like, what are these quick, easy, healthy meals?
Okay. And then what would you do with those?
I think the plan that you just sketched out sounded really good to me. It sounded doable. So
Mhm.
on the weekend, just checking our ingredients, making sure that we go grocery shopping and are ready with like 3 of these meals, just ready to
Mhm.
go. And
Mhm.
then when we come home on a Tuesday and let's say we need a quick healthy meal, we just know we have those ingredients, so we can just
Mhm.
go.
Great. And what about the kids?
Mm. I think we need to push them to eat what we eat a little bit more. I know that their taste buds are different, but I think we're kind of reinforcing that they eat poorly by always like giving them something different.
Mhm.
So I would like them to eat what we eat a little bit more.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, and I know from my background that kids won't starve themselves. And
Yeah.
sometimes it takes 20 or 30 times for them to see a new food, for them to
Right.
actually want to eat it.
Okay.
And so the persistence actually pays off in just patient mom and dad over and over again, putting something in front of them and modeling, well, we're eating it because they won't starve.
Yeah.
And
So I
so,
just have to see it go on the floor 30 times.
but it's
and
hard.
then-
It's
Yeah.
hard. I mean, there's a lot of food waste, there's a lot of mess, and there's a lot of drama, but
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So it sounds like maybe what you would like to do around food is to consider some meal planning.
Yeah. For
I wonder
sure.
if you'd like to give that a try for the next couple of weeks. We have a follow-up service here. We'd love to hear how it's going for you.
Mhm.
Would you mind if I sent you a note in a couple of weeks to check up and see if you wanted to come back in and talk about it, or see, maybe it's fallen off your radar. I don't know. It's
Sure,
gonna
yeah,
it's gonna
it's-
depend on what's going on.
That's fine. Do you have any sort of resources that I could use to like help with meal planning?
Mhm. Wow, we do. There's a lot of websites. There's a lot of blogs on meal planning. Honestly, my favorite is a piece of scratch paper and a pen. And then I just recently, I was doing recipes on Pinterest, which, do you know, where are most of your recipes, Devin?
In my head on the
Okay.
internet.
And that's okay.
I don't
so
really
depending
do
on where they
cookbooks very
are.
often. So
Yeah. So as you move forward, you might want to collect recipes that you like and store them somewhere in an
Okay.
app or in your phone or on the refrigerator or in a box. However you store them, just
Okay.
gradually build them up.
Yeah.
Because really all you need is to pick a recipe, write down the ingredients, and then buy the ingredients. There's no special form. Really, it can look like anything. I was going to tell you recently, I've been into an app called Paprika because it keeps it where I don't have to write it down on paper. It's all on my phone.
Okay,
It does
that would be
grocery
helpful,
lists,
yeah.
it does recipes, but we're all different. We're all have different circumstances. And so you may have to try several types of things before you find something that works.
Okay.
But I look forward to hearing how it goes and what those experiments do for you. Thanks for coming in today. It was a pleasure to talk to you about your
Thanks
food
for helping,
goals.
Linda.
And you're welcome. And I will talk to you soon.
All right.